Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Can't believe it's Sunday again already, but it's a good day. Anyway, I thought today we would talk a bit about gardening. Now, I'll be honest, I thought about recording this from my back garden, but a number of reasons has made that not the best idea. Perhaps the strongest reason is that it's quite embarrassing. I was debating on whether I wanted to show you my garden, and I've decided I don't really. And that's because I have, strangely enough, realized that my gardening style is actually quite biblical. I'm going to tell you what I mean. So let me read to you the parable of the sower from Matthew's Gospel. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat there, while the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, "Listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil, and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen." Now, anyone who knows anything about gardening, even me, knows that that's probably not the most efficient way to plant a garden. You don't necessarily just throw stuff out there and wait and see what comes up. Although that is, in fact, what I do, and let's be honest, I don't even know what's in the garden right now. But anyway, even though that's my style, anyone with sense knows, and as Jesus' own disciples realized, that's not the best way to grow a garden if you want it to be fruitful. So Jesus' disciples followed up with this one, and in a rare case where Jesus actually explained the thing to them, the disciples asked Jesus, "What does that actually mean? What was the point of that parable?" You see, the disciples weren't always great at getting the point, but at least in this case, they knew there had to be one. So Jesus goes on to explain. He says, "Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. This is what was sown on the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet such a person has no root, but endures only for a while. And when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, that person immediately falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth choke the word, and it yields nothing. But as for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. It's a story, a parable that we've probably heard a million times before, and we've maybe compared ourselves to the different kinds of seeds, which situations we've been in, how we have grown or not grown at different parts of our lives. And maybe we've compared the world around us, our different contexts, to the different kinds of soil that these seeds are found in. What kind of soil are we giving to the new seeds around us? What kind of soil are we putting out there in our churches, in our workplaces, in our families? Are these places where people are encouraged to grow in tender, loving, cared-for ways? Or are they just places where people have to find a foothold wherever they can, where we just sort of wait to see what, if anything, comes up? Not really all that invested in the end result either way. It's a good reminder, this, that we should always be thinking about how we're shaping the world around us. Now, of course, today that might feel like a bit of a silly question, because how can we even think to shape our churches, our communities, if we can't be there physically? And even in the best of times, it can feel like a tall order to try and change the world around us. So what then? Well, the other day I was reading an excerpt, a devotion. I have a daily devotion that I read every week from this Celtic daily prayer, which I believe Anne has also shared with you on multiple occasions. I read it as well. And the daily readings this month, at least from the ones I'm following, are excerpts from a book called The City Without a Church by Henry Drummond. And the reading for the other day is one that spoke to me in this time especially. It's asking the question of where do we begin? Where do we begin to make the world more like what they call heaven on earth? More like that good soil. And so I'll read from you this little passage. Where are you to begin? Begin where you are. Make that one corner, room, house, office as like heaven as you can. Begin with the paper on the walls. Make that beautiful. With the air, keep it fresh. With the very drains, make them sweet. Abolish whatsoever makes a lie. In conversation, in social intercourse, in correspondence, in domestic life. This done, you have arranged for a heaven, but you have not got it. Heaven lies within, in kindness, in humbleness, in unselfishness, in faith, in love, in service. To get these in, get Christ in. Teach all in the house about Christ, what he did and what he said and how he lived. Teach it not as a doctrine, but as a discovery, as your own discovery. Live your own discovery. Then pass out into the city. Do all to it that you have done at home. So perhaps, like me, you might need to hear that word today. It can feel like we're stuck, unable to do much of anything, even as we ease out of lockdown, but still feel far removed from the ordinary. How can we be of any use? Well, we start at home. We start by making the spaces, the very physical spaces around us, more heaven-like. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. We expect God to show up, even in little grubby gardens like mine, and maybe work a bit to help make it more a place where we might expect God to show up, though my efforts tend to be focused a bit more indoors. And through it all, there's another passage that I'll leave you with that speaks to all of us in our perhaps frustrations and insecurities. It's today's reading from Isaiah. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return there until they have watered the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and succeed in the thing for which I sent it. For you shall go out in joy, and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Instead of the thorn shall come up the cypress, instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle, and it shall be to the Lord for a memorial, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. So perhaps even our grubbiest, most cluttered, most ignored gardens will one day, through God's grace, be transformed into something beautiful. Perhaps that's the good news we all need to hear this week. Amen. So take care, stay safe, and maybe find a little way to transform the space around you into your own little plot of good soil. And I'll take care, and I'll see you later.